Alright, let's jump right in and talk about Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr.
Sorry, I've got penises on the brain.
As a whole, I'd describe Penix's game as ugly before the throw and beautiful after the throw, primarily because of the way he wins. He's an elite deep ball thrower. He can consistently place the ball perfectly in a bucket on the sidelines into very tight areas where only his wide receiver can make the play on it. His ball placement is so good on some of these throws that he genuinely makes it easier for the receivers to bring the ball in because he so often gets the ball out of the cornerback's reach so they can't contest the catch point. His throws with touch are just so beautiful to watch once they leave his hand, as he's mastered throwing fades or goes deep down the sideline and in the red zone. He also does an excellent job making these types of throws with anticipation, often reading the leverage of his receiver versus the cornerback, and releasing the ball early to have the ball arrive in the perfect spot at the perfect time for his wide receiver to catch it in stride. Think of those balls down the sideline that we so often see Tua throwing to Tyreek Hill. And that's a very good summary of what Penix does best. He's just very good at throwing to his spot with timing and plays very well within the structure of his college offense, which perfectly fits his skill set. It's just so beautiful to watch, and if he weren't a lefty thrower with a very long, kind of ugly motion, his game would be very aesthetically pleasing. But despite being a deep ball thrower, he also takes care of the football really well, as he oddly enough had the 8th best big-time throw rate in 2023, combined with the 10th best turnover-worthy play rate. This is pretty special considering the amount of pass attempts he had and the correlation between the two stats. That being that quarterbacks who often have higher big-time throw rates also have worse turnover-worthy play rates because big-time throws are inherently more difficult and lead to more turnovers if not executed perfectly. But Penix was able to avoid this pitfall. He has good size at 6'3", which is around 55th percentile for quarterbacks, and he also has a very good arm strength to push the ball downfield. His throws have noticeable zip on them when he's throwing from a good base, which he uses to fire the ball into tight windows, giving him a bit more leeway to be late on throws. But I'm going to take the wind out of our sails and end the strength section pretty quickly, because I genuinely don't have much left to say in this section. I'm not a Penix hater by any means. I think he has a lot of upside, but he also faces an uphill battle, so let's just get down to brass tacks and talk weaknesses. First is the main talking point around Penix: his age and injury history. He's played 6 seasons in college and will be almost 24 years old at the time the draft rolls around. In his 6 seasons, he suffered 4 season-ending injuries. He tore his ACL in both 2018 and 2020, and had shoulder injuries in 2019 and 2021. He did play 49 games in college, so it's not like we haven't gotten to see him play, but his age entering the draft raises concerns about whether he's maxed out, and his injury history raises concerns about whether he'll be able to stay healthy for a full NFL season. But let's talk about Penix's game on the field. I personally felt he didn't show much upside with many NFL-level throw types, reading the field, and different passing concepts. It just kind of felt like he was a one-trick pony. In terms of throw types, he hasn't shown the ability to layer the ball in between levels of defenders. He was frustrating on this point because I rarely saw him attempt these throws when he had the opportunities, and when he did attempt them, he kept trying to brute force the ball into the middle of the field with absolute lasers instead of just throwing with some touch and just lobbing it right over the linebacker's head. In the same vein, I also felt it was rare to ever see him hit or even attempt tight window horizontal throws over the middle of the field. Also, when throwing to other areas of the field that weren't on the deep vertical plane, I felt his accuracy was just fine, but it was inconsistent and his ball placement wasn't always the best. But let's do a BS check and go over some examples of him passing up NFL throw opportunities or not completing them when he does try them. Here, Penix drops back in this beautiful pocket and he has 2 different throws he can make over the middle. For whatever reason, the linebacker is sprinting to cover the flat, even though the other linebacker in front of him is also sprinting to the flat, leaving a perfect chance to fire this ball into the middle of the field to this wide receiver. As soon as he sees that linebacker vacate the spot, you ideally want to see him rip it with anticipation, like right now. Instead, he moves to his second read, which was literally wide open in the middle of the field. Here, I'll rewind for you so you can see I'm not lying. Now let's look at the other angle to get a better view, and look, he's open. He's got this whole runway to fire the ball into. So we have 2 open wide receivers. The quarterback is looking at the first one, but not throwing, and he never gets to the second one because he's sticking onto the first one too long. But then, he finally decides to throw. Oh wait, no, he pulled the ball down. Which is not an awful idea, I get it, it's a tough throw in theory, but this is also the type of layered throw NFL quarterbacks hit, and he's got all day to throw. Instead, he feels the pressure, rolls out, and throws the ball away. From my perspective, he turned down 3 NFL level throws on this play alone. On this next play, it's a bit difficult to tell what Penix is looking at, so let's just go over that part real quick. From the end zone view, at the time he hits his back foot, it looks like he's looking at the outermost route, and then he turns it down and moves to his next read. This seems like the right decision, because when we go back to the sideline view, at the time he moves off the read when he hits his back foot, it doesn't look super promising, and he sees the linebacker start to vacate the middle, which in theory opens up the middle for this guy. So I'd say good job there. The rest of this is where I have a concern. He then looks directly over the middle of the field, after he knew he had the linebacker vacating the middle, and he had the opportunity to just hit this wide receiver in the middle for 7 or 8 yards. This is as open as it gets in the NFL. You just fire this ball in with anticipation. But instead, he just dumps the ball off to the running back who gets back to the line of scrimmage for no gain. Next one, to his credit on this play, he finds the throw opportunity in the middle of the field, and he's just off with the throw. He tries lasering the ball into the middle of the field, which should have been an interception or deflection, but instead leads to the rare turnover-worthy touchdown after it comes off the defender's hands. This was an excellent decision, but this needs to be thrown with touch. For example, here's Bo Nix making a layered throw. It's not exactly the same, but you get the idea. Take a little bit off of it and get it right in the soft spot. By the way, if you haven't yet, check out my Bo Nix film breakdown, and the Caleb Williams one, and the Maye one, and the Harrison Jr. one, and Neighbors and Odunze. Check them all out. Speaking of Caleb, here's him doing a similar thing. Nice layered throw in between the defenders. On this next one, Penix tries another tight window throw, and he throws way too high, almost leading to an interception. This one actually more needed to be fired in rather than laid up like it was. But these inconsistencies in hitting NFL throws don't just come up the middle of the field. For example, he throws the ball late and behind the wide receiver here, leading to a PBU towards the sideline. And on this one, he just badly overthrows an open wide receiver on the corner route. And here is a missed out route in the quick game. If he can't consistently hit all these types of throws, or just some of them, does that just leave us with deep vertical throws? Well, although I raved about his deep ball ability, his accuracy can be similarly inconsistent on these as well. He's more consistent on them, but it's still not a guarantee. On this one, he puts the ball too far behind the wide receiver, leading to a missed touchdown. To be fair, this ball wasn't totally uncatchable, but this is far from an easy catch. Here, he misses the deep fade, which is usually his bread and butter. And here he goes with the pump fake and similarly overthrows the fade. Now, if you follow me on Twitter or if you've watched a lot of my videos, you'd know that I have a problem with people one-play scouting or just showing clips that only advance their narrative. I'm showing you a couple plays, but I need to strike a balance between being boring and being informative. It wouldn't be particularly interesting for me to go through every single clip I have of him missing a throw on an NFL level throw. These plays represent a smaller amount of a large subset to me, and it just shows that he's not consistently hitting NFL throws. Whether or not you choose to believe me on this point, you would have to go back and watch his tape and make that determination for yourself. My overall point with this was that he just consistently turns down NFL throws, he consistently doesn't hit them, or he doesn't really have a good feel for how to hit them, and he isn't consistent on one of the things that he does best, which is throwing the deep ball. But the next thing that I want to talk about is his ability to read the field. It felt rare to see him actually go through full field progressions and work through progressions. He predetermines reads, which is shown by him staying on his first read for a frustratingly long period of time, even when it's clear that they're not getting open. He got away with this a lot in college because he'd just be staring down Odunze waiting for him to break free vertically. But what happens when the wide receiver in the NFL can't do that? I rarely saw him progress off his first read quickly, and he's also far too conservative as a passer. If he doesn't see his first read, he'll hit his check down in a clean pocket without checking the rest of the field, which led to a large number of missed opportunities. My concern here is that he's making up his mind before the snap and not adjusting at all after the coverage plays out on the field, because he seems to often not even look at wide open reads. Like here, he has a potential tight window throw, turns it down, looks at his number one, doesn't like it, and goes straight to his check down, missing number two streaking upfield, wide open. Or here, he never moves off his number one and overthrows him, even when he didn't really separate much, missing the open receiver underneath. Here, I just really wish he saw 83 fly past the linebacker before throwing this ball to the running back. I know that the play is probably designed for him to hit the running back, but it just makes me sad. He also didn't have great pocket presence, which was hidden by a college offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award. He didn't face pressure quite as often as he will in the NFL, and when he did face pressure, I found that his pocket presence wasn't great, and he struggled with his mechanics and decision making. On a similar note, he was also bolstered by Washington's scheme, because it was very tailored to his skill set. By that, I mean he primarily worked out of the shotgun, he had a ton of 1 or 2 read progressions, and practically every receiver's route was on the vertical plane. It seemed like it was basically an option between a vertical, comeback, curl, fade, and sometimes a post. But we're not stopping there, because I don't think he's a great athlete, and he's definitely not a great playmaker. He isn't really a threat in the rushing game, and he's not really a good enough athlete to consistently extend plays or make plays in the scramble drill. He's fine and can pick up easy yards when he needs to, but he isn't really going to evade sacks or anything. everything. He also struggles heavily to throw off platform. When throwing without his feet underneath him, he loses air on the ball very quickly, making him prone to over and under throws. And some of his off-platform or playmaking type throws were just comical at times because they were so far off where he intended to put it. Like this one, I think he's trying to hit the check down with this sidearm throw, but either way it wasn't pretty. And this one's pretty much the same thing. I don't really know where he was trying to put this, but I do know that it didn't get there. He's also limited in the sense that I just don't think he works well enough outside the structure of the offense, for much the same reasons I mentioned, in that he isn't great at reading the full field or making quick decisions under pressure. For example, there was a play where his primary reads both fell. He had another wide receiver streaking wide open, maybe a couple feet to their right, but instead he immediately tucks the ball and tries to run and gets sacked. It's just little things like this that make me concerned, because I just don't know why he's hitting the panic button and running immediately when he has time to throw. But speaking of time to throw, he has extremely long arms, which gives him a very long release. I know he's a lefty, so it'll always look weird to us righty normies, but regardless of how weird it looks, his release is longer and also comes from a weird angle, leading to his passes being frequently tipped at the line. His long windup takes away pretty much any margin of error he gains from his arm strength, and he could definitely be late on throws for that reason. He's often late on throws for other reasons too, such as taking too long to move off his first read, or having to wind up his arm when throwing deep to really channel his arm strength, unlike a Caleb Williams or Drake Maye who could just hit deep throws off their back foot. This last one only comes sometimes, it doesn't happen all the time. But let's wrap this bad boy up. All in all, I'd like to see him play with better processing, a more concise release, and I'd like to see him complete a wider variety of throws to different areas of the field. Although he does one thing extremely well, NFL defenses can lock down what you do best, and your success in the NFL is based upon your ability to adjust. The majority of this video comes off negatively, and I really hate that because I like everything I've heard about Penix. I appreciate his work ethic and his drive to win, as well as his determination to come back from injuries. However, his college tape does leave me concerned. The upside on this point is that Penix wasn't really asked to do a ton of NFL level quarterback things that I expect to see from a first round prospect. I could see an argument where he didn't throw to the receivers in the middle of the field because that's simply not how he was told to read the concept. But even if this is true though, it does make his projection rather difficult. Who knows, he could go to the NFL, be given NFL level concepts and throw types and make them all from day one, the second he steps on the field. But that's just not what it shows on tape to me right now. At least not from my perspective, even though I am not the end-all be-all of quarterback evaluation. So hopefully you guys appreciate the nuance, and ultimately I never root for any player to fail, even if it means I'm wrong. In terms of grading, I have Penix as a late third-round prospect. I love his upside as an elite deep thrower in a well-structured offense, especially when considering the fact that he has the arm strength and potential to improve upon the other areas of his game. I think he has excellent upside if he could stay healthy, but I also think he's limited in his ability to start on day one. That'll be about it, guys. Hopefully this video comes back to bite me in the ass one day and he lights it up, especially if he winds up going to my New York Jets, who are terrible and have been terrible my entire life. Otherwise, I'd love to hear your comments below. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? Do you not have an opinion? Did your opinion change by this video? Or did it make you feel the way that you feel even stronger? I'd love to know, so let's talk ball below. Otherwise, I'd appreciate a like as it really helps out the channel, and a subscription if you're new here so we can keep talking ball on each video to come. Also, check out my second channel, where I'll be posting some lesser edited videos like mock drafts, NFL trivia, or scouting reports, without much film so less editing time for the videos. I think it'll allow me to make a bit more content while I work on the videos for this channel, which take a while because of all the editing, research, and script writing and all that crap, and it'll let me talk to you guys a bit more in between all of those long periods. But otherwise, that's about it, guys. Later.